Hello and welcome back once again to the Moebius Chronicles. Today we delve into Jimi Hendrix Émotions Électriques, a rare gem published in a limited run of 1,500 copies back in 1999. This book often flies under the radar when discussing Moebius, yet it captures an unexpected collaboration and a particularly stressful moment in his life. The one when, in 1995, he faced a plagiarism lawsuit from the journalist and photographer Jean-Nöel Coghe over a now famous illustration, which we can see right here, which he was commissioned to create 20 years earlier for the French reissue of the Jimi Hendrix album Are You Experienced? Our story begins in 1975, 5 years after Hendrix's death. A director at the French record label Barclay decided to reissue Hendrix albums they had under contract. And to boost their commercial appeal, he enlisted young illustrators from the popular magazine Pilote, including Jean Solé, Patrice Leroy, Patrick Legeur, the legendary Philippe Torillet, and Moebius, of course. Barclay provided the illustrators with a set of 7 photographs, and Moebius was instinctively drawn to a small snapshot of Hendrix eating soup, and without knowing the photographer's identity, he used this image as a reference for his design. The resulting illustration was a masterpiece, depicting Hendrix with shapes emanating from his head and a spoon in his mouth, eating what appeared to be a live alien food. It brilliantly captured the connection between music and drugs, showing Hendrix absorbed in his inner world, while the outside world, which we can observe through the window behind him, seemed chaotic and violent. For this work, Moebius received a modest sum and was given back his original drawing along with a copy of the record sleeve. Of course, without the record, because that would have been too much. But who took the initial photograph? Well, it was Jean-Noël Coghe, a renowned music journalist who had spent decades accompanying musicians on tour in France and Belgium. Coghe noticed the album in a record store window and exclaimed, "Damn, they didn't put much effort at Barclay. This drawing looks very much like the photo I took of Jimi in Brussels in '67. In the original picture, the plate opposite his was mine." And indeed, Coghe had been documenting Hendrix's 5-day tour of France and Belgium back then, but the photos he took were private, especially those at the restaurant. Over the years, these photos circulated among friends, and Coghe no longer had the negatives as they had been given to someone else present that evening. Disappointed and bitter, Coghe let it go, and the incident was forgotten for 20 years. Fast forward to 1995, Moebius had become a successful artist, collaborating with Jodorowsky, working on Hollywood movies, designing sets and costumes, and creating numerous comics. And like Hendrix, he was becoming a legend. Everything was great until Jean-Noël received a phone call from London. The caller informed him that his photo of Hendrix, taken back in '67, was not part of a Paris exhibition dedicated to the guitarist, featuring the era's most representative artists. Coghe's photo was displayed alongside Moebius' drawing, titled Food in Thought, with an explanation that it had served as a reference for the album cover art. Moebius only then discovered the photographer's identity, but still did not acknowledge him. Coghe, understandably disappointed, attended the exhibition with a lawyer friend and began complaining about the lack of credit. The lawyer promised to handle it, and the lawsuit machine was set in motion, accusing Moebius of plagiarism and demanding 1.5 million francs in damages, which is roughly €500,000 if we adjust for inflation today. Moebius was obviously baffled. Why would he be condemned 20 years later for a commission job which source photo was provided to him by the record label? If anyone was to blame, it should have been Barclay, but the only person they could get their hands on at the time was him. So he hired a lawyer and the battle began. Moebius won the first instance thanks to the what's called the parody exception loophole. However, Coghe's lawyer appealed, arguing that the photo only became known after the illustration was published, and parody must refer to widely known source material. So Moebius' chances of winning were now 50-50, and losing would mean financial ruin for him. The following year, the drawing was used again, actually, on the cover of Voodoo Soup, a posthumous Hendrix compilation, again without crediting the original photo. Moebius, still tied into the legal battle, did not authorize its use, but MCA, which had acquired Barclay and the art rights, went ahead anyway. While Coghe was advised not to release the picture to avoid prejudicing the court case, but he ignored this advice and let the album go. Depressed and drained, Moebius sought advice from his friend Jodorowsky, whose answer was fantastic. Look, there's only one solution, he says. We have to perform an act of psychomagic, which means resolving a conflict situation by finding a way to modify reality. And honestly, I cannot think of a more Jodorowsky answer. And he continues, make the original drawing the first of a series. After which, Moebius' wife Isabelle proposed calling Jean-Noël to pitch the idea of republishing the photo alongside new illustrations. Jean-Noël's lawyer agreed, and Coghe sent 13 more images, because by now he had recovered the original negatives, and which Moebius restored, reincarnated and transcended through drawing into the 9 more illustrations which were published in the book and as a limited edition portfolio in 1998. So this whole story is resolved into this book, a joint project featuring previously unpublished photos of Jimi Hendrix taken that evening in March 1967, enhanced by the art born of Moebius and his imagination, plus by Jean-Noël's insights into the early days of the myth of Jimi Hendrix. A perfect showcase, if you want, of how conflict can be transformed into a shared adventure of reconciliation and even friendship. So here you go. That is the story behind the iconic album cover by Moebius. If you're interested in the book, this does come up at auction from time to time, and I've seen it selling from anything between 100 and 400 euros. The book is of course in French, obviously. So if you don't know the language well, it can be a bummer. And if you can find the portfolio, that will give you the added bonus that the art is not cut in half like in the pages of this book. Because of course we have the gutter loss here. But of course, if you want a portfolio, you will need much deeper pockets. So yeah, that was it for today. I really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please like it or even subscribe if you want to get notified when the next Moebius video comes out. In the meanwhile, have a great day and see you next time. Bye.